Hey everyone, me Kevin here. It's been a little bit since we've talked stimulus, what's going on at the federal government, what's going on with Congress. Let's do a quick recap so we know what to expect in regards to not only taxation, but also future stimulus and infrastructure spending. Let's get right into it. So here's the thing. There are three main things going on at the federal level with Congress right now. One has to do with the January 6th commission. Democrats believe that we should be investigating every possible thing in regards to what happened and what led up to the incident on January 6th. Republicans believe, let's just make the Capitol safer and move on. This is clearly a left versus right debate. Then we have China and a new initiative or new bill in Congress that's called the U.S. Innovation and Competition Bill. We actually expect this one to pass. It's bipartisan. It's a 1,400-page bill. It's expected to cost about $200 billion. It'll provide about $52 billion to U.S. chip-making efforts to help our supply chain shortages, provide another $81 billion to the National Sciences Foundation. And this is really the only thing that's actually bipartisan right now, which is why it's likely to pass. But then the rubber hits the road, and the reality is Democrats and Republicans can't seem to come to an agreement on infrastructure. Now, negotiations continue, but here's the thing. Remember, we have two parts of Joe Biden's infrastructure plan. One is a $2 trillion physical infrastructure plan, and the other is about a $1.7 trillion social infrastructure plan that includes things like child tax credits and other stimulus money. Right now, Republicans are only negotiating with Joe Biden on his physical infrastructure plan. That is, Joe Biden wants $2 trillion, and Republicans right now have countered their latest $568 billion offer with a $928 billion plan. This is up again from their $568 billion plan, but it only provides about $257 billion of new money since it repurposes a lot of leftover COVID money that hasn't been used. Now, this current negotiation does stick to core infrastructure projects like roads, bridges, and other major projects like $48 billion going to water infrastructure, $25 billion to airports, $65 billion to broadband, $22 billion for freight and rail lines. But we can't even come to an agreement on physical infrastructure. We are more than $1 trillion apart. Biden's at $2 trillion, Republicans are at about $958 billion. I'm sorry, that's $928 billion. So even further of a gulf. The reality here is we've got a lot of work to do in terms of physical infrastructure. Now, we do expect Republicans and Democrats to get together and get something done in terms of infrastructure. Maybe that'll look like a $1.2 to a $1.6 trillion infrastructure bill. We do expect something will get done in that magnitude for actual physical infrastructure spending. It's needed, our roads need it, our bridges need it, society needs this infrastructure spending. So we expect that this is going to come together. However, it might end up coming at the cost of exhausting any leftover willpower for social infrastructure. Let's talk about this because this is where we get to stimulus. So, first of all, in the social infrastructure proposals, we talk about a child tax credit potentially being made permanent or at least being extended for the next 5 years. This is Joe Biden's plan to, starting July 1st, start providing folks a larger child tax credit within certain income criteria, where people would get paid $300 per month for children under 6 and $250 per month for children between 6 and 17. This is great, and Joe Biden wants to make this last longer than just for the 2021 tax year, which is what is currently law based on the last stimulus package that was passed. We also have proposals to make community college free, to maybe try to get some student debt relief, although that's not looking very good at all right now. Biden's not going to be able to do it via executive action, and Congress doesn't really have the appetite to do any kind of student debt relief, and in Joe Biden's social infrastructure plan, he doesn't even talk about student debt relief. However, he does offer free community college. He also includes multiple tax changes, like getting rid of the stepped-up tax bases, which is very important for those of you who invest in my real estate investing course, where I teach you how to go from zero to millionaire. And we talk about how important this stepped-up tax basis is. Or the 1031 exchange, which Joe Biden also proposes substantial limitations to. Those courses, by the way, as you know, on Building Your Wealth, stocks one, real estate, making YouTube videos, property management, all of those courses linked down below. There is a price change coming on June 1st. There's going to be a big inflationary adjustment. So the price will be going up a large amount on June 1st. So make sure you get in by Memorial Day on May 31st. But more importantly here, Joe Biden has massive tax changes planned regarding capital gains as well, specifically for those making over $1 million. And a lot of things that ultimately affect hedge funds and institutions that have kind of pressured the market to the downside over the last few months. A lot of these things are part of Joe Biden's social infrastructure plan, and they give a lot of folks in Congress heart palpitations over the potential of inflation, especially since there is a substantial group of Democrats on the left who would like to see, or the further part of the left, so you've got Democrats and then you've got those at the further part of the left, right? We know Joe Manchin's kind of stuck in the middle. We got the further part of the left wing of the left. They really have been pushing for a continuation of unemployment pay, which drives Republicans nuts because Republicans are like, well, we need people back to work. We need schools open and we need people back to work because schools open also mean parents can go back to work. Both parents can go back to work. Otherwise, what we're doing is we continue to perpetuate inflationary pressures as wages go up and prices of goods and services go up because input costs go up. And if we're going to print more money, that's more inflationary pressure as well. So you have really big problems when it comes to social infrastructure and especially a fourth stimulus check. I am concerned that when Republicans and Democrats strike a deal on physical infrastructure, somewhere between $1.2 to $1.6 trillion, I'm concerned that the political willpower for actually doing a social infrastructure package will evaporate. And the problem is if a social infrastructure package evaporates because you have somebody like Joe Manchin saying, we are not going to use budget reconciliation again. We will only do something with 60 votes. And we know that Republicans say we're not going to do anything that changes the 2017 tax cuts or raises taxes, which means, okay, that's not going to work. So getting anything done with budget recon isn't going to work. Social infrastructure is not going to happen. Republicans are not open to it unless they take out all of the tax changes, which that's not going to happen because how else is Biden going to pay for the plan? He himself is not even interested in printing that much more money. He wants to actually see taxes pay for it, right? If this doesn't happen, what happens? Great. We get our physical infrastructure bill. Maybe we get our U.S. innovation bill on chips and that. But then the rest of the year, we don't get much action. We don't see a new stimulus package. We don't see the permanence of the child tax credit. We don't see free college. We don't see student debt relief. And a lot of the big promises and campaign sort of expectations that Joe Biden set up, we don't end up seeing or benefiting from. And so this becomes an issue. And we already know that Democrats are being asked, well, if you won't go for budget recon, then maybe get rid of the filibuster so you could just pass bills with 51 votes. Joe Manchin's already a hard no on that. And so what potentially happens? Well, we get into 2022, and what happens in 2022? 2022, everybody starts running their campaign for a 2022 midterm re-election cycle, and we potentially end up being in a situation where Joe Biden ends up losing Democratic control. The only thing he was able to applaud was getting his initial stimulus package through and a bipartisan physical infrastructure plan, and we end up being left with no new stimulus check, no fourth stimulus check, no extended unemployment, no permanent child tax credit, no free college, and a lot of these things, and no taxation, right, to pay for these things. But a lot of the things that have sort of been hoped for end up fading away. Now, I know that's not the most optimistic for those who are looking for the benefits of stimulus, and it sounds more optimistic for those who are worried about taxation. But that is the state of Congress right now. And it's really important to be in tune with what the actual state of Congress is right now, and not just euphoric clickbait that's like, don't worry, I'm pretty confident that fourth check is coming. Really? Have you seen what's happening in Congress? The lack of bipartisanship on social infrastructure could not be more severe. It is very bad for social infrastructure right now. Physical infrastructure has got a shot. But I wanted to bring you this update because I think it's very, very, very important. Especially since we are also running a campaign for governor in California. And honestly, California would save a lot of money if Joe Biden was paying for all the community colleges around here, okay? Just saying. But anyway, folks, check out the program's link down below. Thank you so very much for watching this video, and we'll see you in the next one.